Hello everybody and welcome to my review of volume number 5 of Tappei Nagatsuki's light novel series ReZero, Starting Life in Another World. This one released in English by Yen On. If you want to pick up a copy of this, you can find that in the description. I've got links to Amazon.com as well as Book Depository. So in this volume, we are dealing with the aftermath of volume number 4. Of course, well, I don't really want to spoil it, but Subaru is in not the greatest emotional state, although he has decided to kind of dedicate himself to trying to make himself better because of the defeats that he suffered in volume number 4. And that's kind of probably one of the better things about Subaru is that he's willing to keep standing up even though he gets beaten down. Sometimes that's a bit to his detriment, but you gotta give the guy at least a little bit of credit. So in this case, he is now at the Krush mansion where he is receiving a treatment by Ferris, who is using magic to try and treat Subaru's basically destroyed, like his injured gait, which basically controls his magical power. And at the same time, he's trying to learn swordplay from Lady Krush's butler, Wilhelm, and basically just kind of try to fix himself and to make himself worthy of calling himself Amelia's knight so that he can stand beside her once again. Only problem is that suddenly Rem, who has stayed behind to sort of watch over Subaru, has a sort of involuntary, while it's involuntary on the part of Ram's part, she has this involuntary connection, psychic connection with her sister, in which she pretty much gets the gist that something has gone horribly wrong back at the manor. And so Subaru and Rem get together and head off to see what's going on. And in true ReZero fashion, of course, we know that, well, it can't be anything really good. There's a couple of things that have made me really, really invested in this series. First of all, the writing itself. In light novels, we don't always get the greatest evoking of imagery, but in this one, we most certainly do. And Nagatsuki's done an amazing job of writing this. The imagery is powerful, although not overdone. We keep building on the world and on things that are going on, and we start learning more and more about all these sort of different corners of the world and sort of this darker side of it. Certainly we learn a lot more about the darker side of things in this volume. Just the overall pacing and the writing itself, I just find really very engaging, and just it sparks the imagination. The imagery, it's enough that you can see it, but it is not so overdone that you're like, please just get on with the story now. So the writing is, I would say, particularly strong in this series. The other thing, and I mean, it goes hand in hand, all of these go hand in hand with the writing at its heart, is that this one has always stayed very, very, I would say, as realistic as possible with Subaru and his state of mind, particularly in regards to the whole return by death. When that mechanic is used, there is no sugarcoating it. It is horrible and horrifying and does untold damage to Subaru, both physically and emotionally. And we're seeing a lot more, like this volume in particular probably has Subaru's mental state suffering one of the biggest blows that it has so far. And I mean, given what he's gone through so far, that's saying something. But man, like this volume gets dark. Wow. Like I thought, after the violence of volumes 1 and volume 3, I kind of thought like, okay, well that, we know this is sort of the bar. Well, the violence bar gets really, really knocked up in this one. Like it is, like I would almost say that this is, as much as this is an isekai, and as much as, it's of course a fantasy-based isekai, it is also a horror-based isekai with this volume. Like, the elements that get introduced here are they're hard to read at some points. And despite the feeling that, oh well, maybe things will work out somehow, there is always this doubt. There is always this sense that maybe there's just no really fixing this. Or yeah, like it's that kind of thing where you sit on the edge of your seat, and even though in your mind you're thinking to yourself, well, even if things get really, really horrible, Subaru will die and everything will just be reset and we'll be all back happy and he will figure out a way to make everything right. But I don't really get the sense in this. Like, like there's points where you just are constantly sitting there thinking to yourself, like, there's just no way that this gets fixed. Like, yeah, I mean, I just don't know how that even happens. This volume is shocking in a lot of ways with the amount of violence. It is, I mean, as much as it is horrifying, this is probably, I would think, when we're talking about the anime adaptation, but certainly with the books, I would say this is the point where Rem becomes best girl, which, I mean, and I think that's one of the things that I love about this series is that you do have these kind of balances of these very sweet moments and these moments where these characters grow and develop and push forward. Even Ferris, like, even as much as Ferris is made to be sort of like a, laissez-faire kind of character, like doesn't seem to be that serious. We do see an edge to Ferris's personality in this one. We do see that, he is, despite his appearance, he is a very serious individual and is taking what's going on all around him in a very, very determined and serious manner, and is not really going to sugarcoat things when it comes down to it. We have Krush, who in volume 4 certainly just seemed to be that kind of a character, and certainly she is very determined, but we see, I would say, a bit of a softer side to her. Not that she seems any less strong or determined, but we see this sort of side of her which is a lot more approachable. And so we keep having these characters grow and develop. Rem, who, for the longest time seemed to be just this emotionalist girl who, kept herself in check, and, well, partly for good reason. We found that out in volume number 3, but who always lived in her sister's shadow. We're starting to see her sort of develop her own sense of self, starting to, even if it's just fantasy, starting to think about what perhaps she wants from her life as opposed to following the path that she has basically given herself no choices on. It is a fantastic volume. It's hard to say, like, for me, like, this series, just every single volume is good. And in a lot of cases, the newer volumes keep getting better. Like, I think back to when I read volume number 1 and I thought, and if you watch my review on that, I certainly was positive about it. I was like, you know what? I like the series. I do. I like this book, but I don't quite see what all the hoopla is about and why everybody's going total, bat crap crazy over the anime. And then you get the idea. Then certainly volumes 2 and 3 were a fantastic arc. Had a lot of mystery elements. That's kind of the other thing that I think is really cool about this series, is how it teases you with this whole, like, not really knowing what's going on. There's always these sort of little things that are thrown out that you think to yourself, like, this could be a big thing, but you're really not sure about that. You're not sure how things are going to play out. Like, it really is just one of those series that's so good at keeping you guessing, at keeping you on the edge of your seat, of making you never feel secure about the fate of certain characters. Even Subaru, where you think to yourself, like, okay, he's probably, even if he dies, he'll just come back. The thing is that the guy gets wrecked coming back. You don't even know, like, what is he going to be when he comes back? Even if he does, like, get the whole restart from death. Like, A, where is he going to restart? Like, how far back, how much stuff is going to get lost, or how many things cannot be undone? B, what kind of a mental state is he going to be in? What is he going to be like physically? And I mean, this book, like I said, this volume just goes way, way beyond, I think, anything that we've seen in the previous 4 volumes in terms of its violence, in terms of the way that it degrades Subaru's mental state, even his physical state. But then at the same time, like I said, we get this, we get this incredibly like tender moments with her, and we get this character that you feel so much affection for because of how she behaves and how she acts, and honestly, that just adds to the horror later on. So all in all, if you've liked ReZero, obviously you will love this volume. Although, like I said, be prepared for lots of blood and violence. If you thought, oh yeah, volume, I got through the first 4, no problem. You'll probably get through this one, no problem, but it's taken up a notch. It really, really is. I was actually kind of surprised. And this one does end on a cliffhanger in much the same way that volume 2 did. So yeah, you're going to be sitting there like, I don't know, man. I don't know whether to tell you to wait until volume 6 releases so you can just like not have to wait for a couple of months like I now have to, or if I would say that you should just read it right away because it's awesome. I'm not too sure. It's hard for me to tell you. Part of me wishes I had waited just because, man, I really want to know what happens next. And I know I would find out if I just watched the anime, but I'm like, no, I can't. I have to control myself. But I did also want to read this one because I do have the first volume of the spin-off series, ReZero EX, and it focuses on Ferris and on Crush. So I wanted to read this one so that I could move ahead and read that. So at least I have a little bit of other ReZero sort of world reading to do before volume number 6 comes out. So volume number 5, absolutely recommend it. Absolutely recommend the ReZero series in general. If for some reason you haven't picked it up yet, you absolutely should. And yeah, so just like I said, just be prepared to be shocked and wow, shocked, yeah. And just be prepared for the fact that the ending is a cliffhanger. So those are my thoughts on volume number 5 of ReZero. My next review is going to be on volume number 3 of Infinite Dendrogram, the VR MMO light novel series that has been a really pleasant surprise, actually, to this point. And I am looking forward to getting into this one, especially with volume number 4 coming out in just a couple weeks. So I want to get caught up so I can pick that one up when it comes out. So if you're brand new to the channel and you love light novels, you should consider subscribing. I do 2 to 3 reviews every week, as well as a weekly countdown of the top 10 best-selling light novels in Japan. Thank you so much for joining me in this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye for now.